In tonight's in-depth coverage, we continue to look at who rules the schools. Since taking office, State Superintendent Ryan Walters has proposed new rules for public schools he says will bring about accountability and better performance. Some of those new rules cleared their first legislative hurdle just this week. Opponents say, however, the rules are misguided and allows Walters to target political enemies. Controversial rules proposed by State Superintendent Ryan Walters cleared their first hurdle at the state capitol Tuesday, and now they sit on the floor of the House of Representatives. The rules tie everything from test scores, teacher performance and behavior, library books, and even giving time for prayer in school to accreditation. If the Department of Education determines a district violates these rules, accreditation takes a hit, and too many accreditation hits could lead to a loss of accreditation. A district cannot operate without being accredited by the state. Republicans on the committee gave Walters much of what he wants.
This is all based on fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And the challenge is when we start basing things on fear, do we make the right decisions?
The Republican position isn't necessarily whether they disagree with the rules or not, but does Walters have the authority under current law to make the changes he requested? They believe he does and should implement the changes he ran on back in 2022.
I do believe they have to have authority and specific direction. I believe that they did on the vast majority of those rules.
But Democrats say even if he has the authority to request these new rules, it should be up to lawmakers to make policies and not solely on Walters, who they say will go after schools and districts that did not vote for him.
If we want to improve, where are the resources to help us improve instead of leading with a hammer? This is unfair across the board.
Democrats say the new rules will allow Walters to target Tulsa and other rural schools and put them on a path to a state takeover.
These rules tie high-stakes testing to accreditation. Not academics, just a one-day snapshot. Year one is this year, begins with a requirement that 50% of all kids in a district must test at basic proficiency and begins the process of stripping accreditation from school districts. That's the stated goal.
Because of these new rules being tied to test scores, there was some concern that last week's tornado was going to automatically put Barnsdall Public Schools into deep trouble with the state. Barnsdall Public Schools facilities were not directly hit in the storm, but the district had not taken tests yet. Mixed in with students who have no homes and trauma from the storm and the fact that the district ended not in the way they planned, Walters said he is waiving many requirements so the district isn't pushed by low test scores and other requirements he is putting into place with these new rules.
Testing, waivers, documents that you're required to turn in. We'll waive as much of that as possible. We want you focusing on this. We can delay or we can waive altogether. So that's where we always have tried to make sure that we communicate that very clearly, because again, I don't want the superintendent worrying about that. I want her working with her community like she's been doing.
But Democrats are accusing Walters of picking and choosing which districts will have to comply with his new rules. At Tuesday's hearing, it was pointed out when Shawnee Public Schools had a tornado last year, rules and requirements were not waived by Walters, and that district had school buildings damaged. The superintendent of Shawnee Public Schools at the time, was Walters' former opponent, Republican in the Republican primary, April Grace. Democrats say Walters will pick and choose which districts get a pass during natural disasters.
School districts in our state are immediately under the gun, including Shawnee, who last year was denied testing exemptions after tornadoes ripped through their town. I wonder why that's different for Sulphur or Barnsdall. We have concrete evidence that this rule will not be applied uniformly.
The legislature, both House and Senate, have until the end of the month to take an up or down vote on these rules. If they do not, it defaults to Governor Stitt, who has previously approved any new rules Walters wants. We will keep watching this for you.